Or a place where jaguars plunge into deep water to hunt caimans? Welcome to Brazil, a mysterious mini-planet where rivers refuse to merge, the water doesn't allow a human body to sink, and a 2-billion-year-old mountain is known as the Lost World. Today, join me in exploring extraordinary wonders from canyons on the moon to the soul of the Amazon rainforest. Buckle up, and let's begin our journey to discover the heart of South America. Now, a region spanning 70,000 square miles vanishes beneath with a wall of water for 6 months of the year. This transformation creates a temporary ocean in the middle of a continent. When the rain falls, the ground loses its solidity and becomes a maze of floating vegetation. The basin acts like a giant sponge, absorbing the runoff from surrounding highlands until the water sits 10 feet deep. This landscape does not just support life, it forces life to reinvent itself. On these shifting banks, a predator weighing 200 pounds stalks the current. While most cats avoid the deep, this feline swims to find its prey. It targets the back of a caiman's skull, a reptile weighing 130 pounds with armored scales. The flood forces these species into a cramped, violent proximity. Nearby, capybaras the size of large dogs huddled together on shrinking dry land islands. These rodents are a major food source for predators across the region. For generations, farmers fought to dry this land for cattle, seeing the water and the jaguars as enemies of progress. Watching this great feline master the river makes me wonder in the face of survival. Do we have the courage to change our very nature, just as the jaguar turned the water into its own hunting ground? Beneath the surface, the soil remains thick with the remains of the previous season. The land stays in a state of constant flux. When the heat reaches 100 degrees F, the water evaporates, leaving behind a cracked, sun-baked expanse littered with the bones of fish that failed to escape. The cycle repeats without fail, a massive clock of mud and tide that ignores human borders. The Pantanal exists as a machine of survival where every square foot is reclaimed by the river. A massive collapse in the earth has created a sandstone sinkhole deep enough to hide a 30-story building. The floor sits 328 feet below the surface of the surrounding ranch land. For decades, this pit served as a dump for local waste and abandoned vehicles. It was a silent, dead space in the middle of the scrubland. Now the air inside the chasm vibrates with a noise so intense it resonates through the solid rock. Red and green feathered maycore have reclaimed the vertical cliffs as a fortress. These birds with wingspans reaching over 3 feet mate for life. They choose the inaccessible ledges of the sinkhole to protect their offspring from predators like snakes and small mammals. Hundreds of pairs now occupy the walls, circling the void in a continuous cycle of flight. This site, Barraco da Saras, is the result of a massive cleanup effort by a private landowner who hauled tons of debris out of the hole to allow the ecosystem to recover. The temperature at the bottom stays significantly cooler than the 100-degree heat on the savanna above. The perimeter of the opening stretches more than 1,600 feet. When the sun hits the walls, the red feathers of the maycore create a strobing effect against the rock. The birds rely on the thermals rising from the pit to lift them into the sky. Visibility in these riverbeds extends for more than 60 feet, a distance usually reserved for the open ocean rather than a small forest stream. If an object the size of a postage stamp is dropped into a pool 20 feet deep, the details remain perfectly clear from the surface. This extreme transparency occurs because the surrounding terrain is saturated with calcium carbonate. As water moves through the limestone soil, the minerals bind to organic debris and pull it to the riverbed. It functions as a massive continuous chemical filter. Schools of Purapotanga fish, often weighing up to 8 pounds, appear to hover in empty space. Their silver scales reflect the sun with enough intensity to be seen from 30 feet away. Unlike typical tropical rivers that carry silt and decaying plant matter, these channels remain free of suspended particles. The chemical composition of the water creates a high-density environment where light penetrates to the deepest crevices. It begs the question, when was the last time you looked through something so pure that it changed how you see everything else? The town of Bonito limits the daily entry of humans to ensure that skin oils and sediments do not disturb the mineral balance. Decades ago, this land was primarily used for cattle ranching, but the clear water proved to be a more sustainable economic driver. Protecting the river is now a financial necessity for the local population. Under the surface, the white limestone floor acts like a reflector, amplifying the daylight. It is a biological aquarium where the boundary between air and water becomes nearly invisible. The weight of the minerals keeps the sediment trapped, allowing the current to pass through without a trace of cloudiness. Every year, thousands of massive creatures swim nearly 4,000 miles through the open Atlantic without stopping to feed. They move from the freezing, nutrient-rich waters of Antarctica to a secluded volcanic cluster hidden in the tropics. These travelers are humpback whales. The mother arrives with a thick layer of blubber, which she will slowly burn away to produce milk. During her stay, she will not eat a single meal. She loses up to 25,000 plummols of her own body mass to ensure her offspring survives. A newborn calf weighs about 2 tons at birth, roughly the size of a mid-sized truck. Yet at first it lacks the strength to reach the surface on its own. This sanctuary, part of the Abrolhos archipelago, consists of 5 small volcanic islands surrounded by the largest coral reefs in this sector of the Atlantic. The water temperature stays around 80 degrees OF, providing a warm nursery protected from large ocean swells. The shallow depths, often less than 100 feet, keep deep water predators at a distance. The process represents a massive energetic transfer. The mother's milk is 50% fat, allowing the calf to grow nearly 100 plummols every single day. By the time they start the long swim back to the Antarctic ice, the mother is a shadow of her former size. Her skin is often scarred and barnacled from the journey. The survival of the entire species relies on this specific pocket of shallow sea where the volcanic rock breaks the surface. A living limestone wall stretches 84 miles along the coastline, acting as a buffer against the full weight of the Atlantic Ocean. Billions of tiny organisms built the underwater barricade over thousands of years. It represents the second largest reef system on the globe. Hidden within this jagged labyrinth is an animal weighing up to 1,300 plummols that moves at a pace slower than a human walk. Manatees occupy these waters, creatures that sailors once mistook for mermaids. Today, they are among the most endangered mammals in the ocean, with fewer than 500 individuals left in this specific region. The territory Costa Dores serves as a critical nursery for marine life. These pools function like isolated aquariums where the water temperature can climb to 86 degrees F. Beneath the calm surface, deep channels cut through the limestone, reaching depths of over 100 feet. These trenches allow larger marine life from the open sea to pass through the barrier. Historically, these reefs were seen as a navigational hazard for spice traders and colonial ships. Now the danger is invisible. Rising ocean temperatures and runoff arriving out of nearby sugarcane plantations threaten to bleach the coral, turning the vibrant structure into a graveyard of white stone. The reef is more than a scenic backdrop. It functions as a biological engine that prevents the coastline eroding into the abyss. Manatees must consume 50 plummols of seagrass every day to maintain their body heat. Without the protection of the coral, the seagrass beds would be torn apart by the waves. For nearly 200 years, this jagged volcanic outcrop in the middle of the Atlantic served as a place of total exile. Prisoners were sent 340 kilometers away from the Brazilian mainland to a destination where vertical rock walls acted as natural bars. Escape was impossible. Today, that isolated place, once a life sentence, preserves one of the most pristine ecosystems. It is miraculous how a place once defined by prison bars is now the ultimate symbol of freedom. The archipelago consists of 21 islands formed by an ancient underwater volcano. The vertical cliffs provide shelter for a resident population of dolphins that number in the thousands.